Welcome to this journey from Nairobi to rural Kibwezi. Kibwezi is found in one of the 47 counties in Kenya called Makueni County. So today we will be traveling along the Mombasa road, passing through towns, landscapes, communities that reflects everyday life in Kenya. My name is Prowalu, and don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for those that haven't subscribed to this channel. So let's keep going. As we leave Nairobi, notice the mix of busy traffic, modern buildings and roadside traders. This is the heartbeat of Kenya's capital, gradually giving way to the countryside. Remember, this is the uncut version of the road trip that I've ever done, right? So let's continue. I'll update you once we exit the Nairobi Expressway around the Earth River. So let's keep going. Beyond the Nairobi city and the expressway that we have just left behind, I think you have seen a few of the markets or the tradesmen along the way, and actually we have also passed an exit that leads you to Kitengela town, which is in Kajiado County. So for Earth River, this is around Earth River, and you can realize that this area is a hub known for cement factories, residential buildings, and just a vibe like its counterparts Kitengela town. So from here henceforth towards Machakos, Kitui and Kibwezi or Makueni County, the landscape begins from here to stretch wider with open skies and scattered hills. Remember, where there is hills, there is scattered housing, there is few people, it is dry in Kambani. Sit back, relax, we are going to enjoy. You haven't seen any enjoyment really. So let's keep going and see what is ahead. So the more scenic that is coming your way. Let's go. So we left Nairobi County somewhere around the river, that particular junction that was diverting towards Kitengela town. Alright, so currently, just to remind you, we are within Machakos County. So this area, it's still along Mombasa Road, but this is a junction that connects Mombasa Road to Machakos town, and I think you can see a lot of agricultural produce, small businesses thriving around this area. And you know, along this road you can also notice kiosks, motorbikes, and some daily movements, and this is what sustains the rural livelihood back in Machakos and other people that came here to look for something like livelihood from different areas of Kenya. So we'll continue, and our first stop will be just in the next few seconds, or if not minutes. So finally we take our first stop over here after Machakos Junction. So it's a moment to stretch, refresh, and take in a calm of the countryside. The roadside stores here, or small hotels, or these other big hotels or fast food vendor shops, here serve a mix of breakfast. If you want to be served like tea, if you want some roasted maize, and some simple meals for breakfast that fuel the traveling or travelers on their way to Mombasa, or Mombasa to Nairobi, or maybe any town between or along this Mombasa road. You can have a stop over here and have some breakfast if it is in the morning, lunch and dinner, and I think also there is some accommodation here. So wait a minute, this can't be right. I just realized something about this VIP vehicle we are traveling in. From the front, it's proudly wearing a Lexus logo, but at the back, boom, a Toyota badge. Now everyone is asking, is this really a special edition model ama ni mchezo wa town? So it's kind of a road discovery that makes you scratch your head and say only on Kenyan road trip, between the roasted maize on the sides of the road, the hustle of the kiosks, and now a car with split personality. This Stopover already feels worth the journey that we will take to Kitui.
Welcome to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Commenting.
Wasiweke negative comments.
After a good laughter, the shock, and some realization, and some of the roadside stories, we headed back to the van, and of course I had to show you the crew that I was traveling with. A vibe, chatting, and keeping the energy high. So, because the road trip isn't about the destination, it is about the people you share it with. So let's keep going and see how it goes. As we cruise further down the highway, we are now passing Konza Technopolis, better known as Konza City. This is Kenya's ambitious Silicon Savannah, a smart city that's still coming up to life. From this side of the road, it might look like just open land and a few buildings rising, but the vision is huge. A future hub for tech, research and innovation. Remember, this is where the Open University was actually commissioned, and it is here in Konza City, or Konza Technopolis. as you may have realized, we have passed through 3 towns since we left Konza city, and that is Malili town, Sultan Ahmed town, as well as Tangu area. So this is just part of the small towns that you meet along the Mombasa road as you travel from Nairobi towards Mombasa. So let's keep going and see how it goes. So as you can see, we are around Emali town, and Emali town is just one of the small towns that you meet along the Mombasa Nairobi highway. And as you can see on your far right part of the screen, that is the SGR, the standard gauge railway that runs side by side of Mombasa road from Nairobi all the way to Mombasa. So let's keep going and Now we are turning off the busy Nairobi Mombasa road and onto the rural Darajani, which is in Kibwezi area, or I don't know if it is a district or a sub-county, right, route. So at first I think you can realize that it is a smooth tarmac road, and at this point we were enjoying some local music. But soon you'll see something complicated, all right? But this particular scenery is very, very amazing, and actually from here you will realize, for me, somebody who comes from a different region in this country called Kenya, which is part of East African countries, you will realize that I have been able to see something new, something different, experienced something different on this journey, and this is just the start. You're gonna see more beautiful and different environment from what you usually see on this particular channel. Just to remind you, consider subscribing, commenting, share, and like the video. Leave a comment down there on how you see this particular content so far. So let's keep continuing. The scenery completely transforms wide stretches of farmlands, the signature red soil of eastern Kenya, and just a few scattered homesteads along the way. So the road is somehow rough in some places and bumpy and dusty as well, but that is what makes it feel adventurous. So out here the landscape tells a different story, quite raw and beautiful, and its own way. And remember, I have seen a lot of roads, rivers that are really like empty. There is no water here. I've seen a lot of baobab plants or trees here, and this tells that this is a semi-arid area, and therefore I appreciate the new side of life that I've seen here in Kambani. So we have come, we have seen, and this is just beautiful on its own.